Hello everyone, and welcome to the Old Fashioned Health Network, good health inside and out. I'm Gwen McDaniel, your host for the Senior Living Show, and today our special guest is attorney Athea DeBar Johnson. And Attorney Johnson is a probate attorney. She is also a court-appointed attorney for adult guardianships. She is also a former ad hoc judge and a certified mediator for the Fulton County Probate Court. We also have Attorney Tamara Wood. And Attorney Wood is an estate planning attorney. She also is a tax specialist. So Attorney Wood actually held this position with another company, as a Southeast Regional Director. With a company that was doing a lot of finance planning, and it's Goldman Sachs. It was part of Goldman Sachs. She did this for several years. So good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Gwen.
It's so exciting to have you all with us. You're some busy ladies.
And try to be.
And I really appreciate you setting aside some time, to talk with us and help us share with our audience some of the unique things that you do that can help protect us. And so I want to start off by asking each of you, what is it that you do and concentrate on that can help us in the senior market?
Sure. Thank you, Gwen, for having us here. I am a probate and estate planning attorney, and I work with a lot of seniors, but I also work with anyone who needs an estate plan. But particularly for seniors when they are going through some issues such as dementia, Alzheimer, or some other things that may be occurring in their lives. I help families to help them to be protected from folks who may be a little bit scrupulous, who may be taking advantage of them, or they just need some help with their healthcare issues, with their living environment. So I help families to establish guardianships and conservatorships. But I also help families in these areas where we all need a will, we need a plan, we need that exit strategy. Or we may not pass away, but we need a healthcare directive and the financial power of attorney to protect us in the event that we cannot talk for our own selves. We can't make certain decisions. So that's basically what I do. That's my emphasis.
Yes. Thank you again, Gwen, for having us today. So two areas that I focus on is particularly the tax, but in addition, the trust drafting and formation. As it relates to the trust drafting and formation, I help especially elder generations plan for the future and legacy plan. So that's preparing for leaving wealth and transferring wealth to grandchildren and their children, and structuring it in a way that they kind of can be protected for tax implications. And in the tax realm, I also help with tax controversy, particularly for elders that are retiring and transitioning out of the workforce. They're probably not going to be making the same type of income that they're accustomed to, but to help them save money, plan for that time frame as far as taxes are concerned, and if there's ever been any tax issues, to help them resolve those issues so that they can be stress-free.
Sure, and I can tell you, been there, done that. So I know that is an extremely important area that we need to, and oftentimes we don't think about getting help, to get through that. Talk briefly about some of the things that you concentrate on what they could start with first. In my field, I started with life insurance, but what do they need? What tool do they need that you have that they can start with first, and you can graduate up from that to take care of those basic things and then get into other areas?
Well, Gwen, I think it's important that we first recognize that we all have assets.
That's right.
We have an estate. If you have a car, if you have jewelry, fine art, a 401k plan, anything of value, that's an estate. Those are assets that you want to try to protect. You worked hard for them, you want to try to protect them. So So understand and recognize that we do have assets of value that we want to protect. Once we understand that we all have estates, regardless if we are 21 or 81, then what shall we do to protect our assets? If we have to pass them on because we have passed away, who do we want them to go to? But I also tell clients that this is not about death time planning, but lifetime planning.
Living.
This is the business of living.
Yeah.
Because we can all get into an accident today, cannot speak for ourselves, but we have assets that we need to protect. And who do we want in place to protect that and protect ourselves and make certain decisions? So it's something that all of us, no matter or regardless of what age we are, we need to deal with. And I think it's also important for younger people to understand that if you have children, they're your biggest asset, and you want to protect and provide for them. What do we do? Of course, a will is one of those documents that we need to prepare, have executed, and in place. That's our guidepost to what we want to happen after we pass away. But while we're here alive, and we need somebody to be in charge of us or take care of us, a financial power of attorney is very important. And a healthcare director. And that's important whether we are spouses, because sometimes the medical profession are very weary now, or talking to our spouses. Why? Because they don't know what our relationship, that husband and wife relationship is. Maybe it's strange. I might want to kind of knock you off. Who knows? That's why having those documents are very important. Very important.
And I would add to that, also communicating the plan with those that are close to you or those that will inherit that responsibility. Making sure they understand where the bank account is, where the safe deposit box is, so that when something happens, you're not scrambling to find that information.
I have seen some really ugly things happen, in those situations, and that person doesn't want that responsibility, or other family members are uncomfortable with it, and it causes a lot of problems in the family. So
that's why you have those documents in place, and you do have a family conversation. Using myself as an example, is just my husband and I. I also have a living will where I have designated that in the event that I become vegetated or comatose, I don't want to be kept alive forever. But letting him know that, and knowing that I have a document in place, may not be enough. Having that family conversation, so they know
it doesn't go against him.
Right. They know this is my decision.
And it makes it so much easier on your loved ones when you have that. Well, those are great points. I'll tell you what we'd like to do now is just take a brief break, and then we'll come back and talk about some of those other things that we can put in place to help us in the event of those unforeseen occurrences. Okay?
Hi there, healthy people. Do you have a healthy product or service? If you are a certified medical professional, fitness trainer, author, or chef, Old Fashioned Health would love to promote your services or product on the Old Fashioned Health radio show. Please reach out to us. Call 404-793-3960 or email us at oldfashionedhealth@gmail.com. You can also contact us at oldfashionedhealth.com. Old Fashioned Health, good health inside and out.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, before our break, we were talking about wills and the importance of living wills, and as one of those tools for the family. Let's touch briefly on the subject of wills and why that's important, or particularly for our culture. Is that something that you find that people easily talk about?
Oh no, they don't talk about that very easily. Because we think about our own mortality when the discussion of having a will comes into play. And even for myself, when I prepared my own will, I had to pause. Because it's not a business. We talk about my life here. But I can't profess that I love my family so much and then cause them havoc, trouble, stress, and loss of financial wealth in the end because I hadn't planned a roadmap for them. I haven't prepared. So yes, it's important that we all have a will. We have to talk about it. And there's just some easy steps that we can incorporate to get there.
Good.
Yes.
How important, Attorney Wood, is the life insurance piece there?
Life insurance is extremely important. It's particularly for the demographics where you're not extremely wealthy. You don't have a lot of generational wealth to transfer, and that is a way that you can have that for your family and be able to plan accordingly for a funeral, for what if you have smaller children or if you have maybe a disabled child, to ensure that there are funds for them during their lives. In addition, it's not taxed. And so that's a non-taxable way for you to get something that doesn't have to go back to your estate, and you get it pretty quickly. So you don't have to worry about the process of going, even if you have a will, or to probate court or having to discuss it, you automatically name the beneficiaries and you identify exactly who gets those dollars.
Absolutely. They won't have to hold your body out for a couple of weeks trying to figure out how to get a fund off of the website.
That's right.
When you look at a living will versus a regular will, what's the difference there?
Well, basically, a living will, you can deal with some of your assets and your whatever you have now. You can put into a living will and deal with those assets now. A will doesn't come into effect until we pass away. So your assets are there with you until they are eventually distributed after you have died and all your bills have been paid, and of course the taxes have been paid if there are any taxes to be paid. But I think that what is really most important for us is, and especially for African American, because what I see is we don't have a plan in place. And when you don't have a plan in place, then contrary to what you may believe, the state has a plan for you. And it may be the plan that you don't want in place, or you don't want certain people to inherit or to receive things that you have worked so hard for.
And a living will also can accomplish a lot of, like Attorney Johnson mentioned earlier, some of the decision making. So, I'm in the hospital, the events coupled with the events directive, who's going to make decisions for me? But what do I prefer? Where do I want to be? What kind of medical care? Am I allergic to anything? Just really giving the details that you normally wouldn't have a conversation about with someone, but providing that detail in the living will so that if something were to happen to you, you'd be covered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also try to emphasize, especially to our seniors, is that even though we may have, our children may come to us and say, Mom, Dad, you ought to have a will, you need to have this in place. But you need to turn the tables back on them and ask your children, do you have a will and your estate plan in place? Why? Because if something happens to you, we have grandchildren, you haven't provided for them, I can't keep the kids in the same manner as you are able to, because most of our grandparents are on fixed incomes. They don't have the economic or financial level to take care of the kids. So what are you doing to make sure that if something happens to you, daughter, son, I'm able to take care of the grandkids?
And that is so important. Share with the audience maybe some basic cost structure. How can they get this done with the income that they have?
Well, usually most of our clients will need a package. We will do the will, the financial power of attorney, and healthcare directive. That's a package, and it's a package cost for all three of those documents. And so it ranges depending on the complexity of your issues. And our office do offer installment plans. So we work with our clients in making sure that they get what they need, because it's just so very important.
So what are some of those do's or don'ts that you recommend
the most important thing that I would recommend is that you do not do your will on your own. I know that there are a lot of Office Max or depots or forms online, but you need a professional to help you to do your will, because that professional will ask you those critical questions to get you thinking, to get you planning, to help you not leave out certain aspects of your will when you are preparing it and executing it. That's number one. And number two, Attorney Wood and I called the street committee. Stop going to the street committee trying to find out what the law is. That's why you have to come to professionals.
That's right.
Because we will tell you exactly what it is, what you can and you cannot do.
Yes.
When you're planning an estate.
Great points. How about you, Attorney Wood?
I'll say, do not ever ignore the IRS. If you receive correspondence from the IRS, respond. And if you're uncomfortable with responding, come to someone like ourselves that can give you adequate representation. We are very flexible in pricing in order to help you accomplish your goal. And in addition, I would say plan. Always have a plan. Taxes is one of those areas when we're planning our businesses and planning our time we just don't talk about, but you can really save a lot of money if you plan, because when your tax bracket changes, the obligation is different. Absolutely. And so you definitely want to talk about that.
And I knew about that myself.
Say some things hit home, right? Yes. We appreciate you being with us today. Have a great week.